of history's embrace. Captain's quarters sets the pace with Captain Mayhem at the helm. A voyage of knowledge, a story to round. Captain's quarters weekly delight, where history's treasures take flight. Led by Mayhem, Longwood, and Joe, they explore the past, row by row. Navigator Longwood charts the course, guiding listeners to knowledge's source. Cartographer Joe, with maps in hand, unveils the...
Hey, welcome to the Captain's Quarters podcast. It is I, Captain William Mayhem, accompanied by the great navigator Davy Longwood. Mandy may be in the show later on tonight. I'm not sure. As my post that I put out on Facebook has said, we're all three going through a slow kickstart to the new year. A little bit of health issues on all three of our parts. It's not proper to say too much. I will speak of mine in just a little while. But for now, Davey, how do we find this show? We go to YouTube. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Captain's Quarters Podcast has their own YouTube channel, and you can use that QR code and lock in with us, follow us, subscribe to us, like us. I always like the like part, and be a part of our show. It would be wonderful to have you be here with us every week. Sometimes the show is really, really good. Sometimes the show is really, really good. But it's better when we have people who chat with us. Let me give a quick welcome out there to Zachary Harker. Sorry about that. He is always one of the first ones in, as is Nightingale in Florida, and my favorite, Will the Historian. And of course, that's nepotism at its best. That's why he's my favorite. Nightingale in Florida, so glad to see you are looking well. Thank you very much, Nightingale. I'll talk about it in just a little bit, probably in the Captain's Corner. For now, though, it is proper for us to start our show every week with 8 Bells, sponsored by our good friends at Marco's Pizza. In fact, I just had one of their, I've had to make some diet changes starting as of last night out of the hospital. And one of the things I did was a Marco's Pizza white sauce with vegetables only, no meat. And it is excellent. Excellent. And we had one when I came home last night. So what do we got for 8 Bells, Mr. Davey?
6 of them.
6. Very good. I know one of them. Robert George Uecker, the one I know, was an American professional baseball catcher and sportscaster who served as the play-by-play announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers of Major League Baseball for 54 seasons. Uecker became known for his self-deprecating will and became a regular fixture on late night shows in the 1970s and 80s. Fatuously, boy the words, dubbed Mr. Baseball by TV talk show host Johnny Carson. He had an acting career that included his role as George Owens on the television program Mr. Belvedere and as a play-by-play announcer Harry Doyle in the film Major League and its 2 sequels. Uecker was honored by the National Baseball Hall of Fame with its 2003 Ford C. Frick Award in recognition of his broadcasting career. He was 90 years old and he will be missed. Thomas Michael Brown, an American professional baseball player. He made his Major League Baseball debut with his hometown Brooklyn Dodgers at 16 years and 241 days old, starting as shortstop at Ebbets Field against the Chicago Cubs on August 3rd, 1944. During the World War II manpower shortage, Brown thus became the youngest non-pitcher to serve ever in the Major League Baseball game. He was 97. Joanne Plowright Olivier, Baroness, commonly known as Dame Joan Plowright, was an English actress whose career spanned over 6 decades. She received several accolades, including 2 Golden Globe Awards, an Olivier Award, a Tony Award, as well as nominations for an Academy Award, 2 BAFTA Awards, and a Primetime Emmy Award. She was made a Dame by Queen Elizabeth II in 2004. At the time of her death, she was one of the last surviving stars from the golden age of Hollywood. She was 95 years old. George Kalinsky, an American photographer. He was the official photographer for Madison Square Garden from 1966 until his death, and served as the official photographer at Radio City Music Hall. In November 2010, the National Arts Club awarded him their Medal of Honor for photography. Kalinsky's photos were featured in multiple publications, including Sports Illustrated, People, Newsweek, and the New York Times. He authored 10 books, and he was 88 years old. Jeffrey Glenn Myers, known professionally as Toby Myers, an American musician known as the bassist for Roadmaster and John Cougar Mellencamp. Myers toured and recorded with John Mellencamp from 82 to 99, and in 92, Myers appeared as Luke in the John Mellencamp directed movie Fallen from Grace. He was 75 years old. Jeffrey Allen Torborg, an American professional baseball catcher and manager. He played in Major League Baseball for the Los Angeles Dodgers and the California Angels from 64 to 73. He managed the Cleveland Indians, Chicago White Sox, New York Mets, Montreal Expos, and Florida Marlins. He was 83 years old. And I believe that's all of them for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever hear of one, I'm putting this out there. I didn't ask Davey, but it's okay, I'm sure. If you ever hear one that we might miss or one that you think we might miss, by all means, send us a message. You can catch us on Facebook. Most of the time, though, when I see one and I send a message to Davey already says, got it covered. So I don't usually worry about it, but sometimes we might miss something. So let us know. I see Captain Smoo has made it on board and Ransom Mayhem. So I've got Smoo from Quebec. I've got Jim from St. Augustine, and I've got Ransom Mayhem from Panama City. So we've got Panama City Beach, we've got North Alabama, we've got Quebec, we've got St. Augustine, and we've got Michigan. We're in 5 points in the world this year, or this night. David Lynch, or did I miss it? David Lynch. Send me a little more information on that one, Will, and let's see what we've got. Is that somebody that passed along? We will tell you this. There have been times where we've done as many as what's the most we ever did? 16 at one time, I think we did.
Yeah.
And we got comments that if it gets 8 or more, it starts to get tedious. I'll use that word. Boring is probably the word most everybody wants to use, but tedious. And so we've decided to cut it down to 6. But if somebody sends us a message and lets us know of one and it's in the above 6 number, we'll go ahead and make sure we include them, because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're doing things that our guests are paying attention to and would like to see. It's not just what I want or what Davey wants. It's what we think will go over well with the audience. So there you have it. And on that note, I have my special little glass. It's a little tiny chalice, a shot glass in a chalice. It's actually brass, I believe, maybe gold, who knows. But we say 8 bells and cheers to those with respect to the family and the fans of those that have passed. 8 bells, Davey. David Lynch was an actor, American actor and film director. We will have to look that one up for sure. On that note, let me go to my listing here. You'd think I'd have this memorized by now, but I don't, because we change it so often. How about Joke of the Week with Minnie Mayhem? You got it, Davey?
I got it.
Good enough.
Ahoy, mates. Minnie Mayhem here with Joke of the Week. Sponsored by our cartoonist friend, Travis Ronnie of Salt City Comics. How do you get 106 pirates off their ship? Think about it, and I'll give you the answer at the end of the show.
Sorry about that. Somebody calling me on my cell phone while I'm on a show. I'm looking up David Lynch. And he died January 15th. David Keith Lynch was an American filmmaker, visual artist, musician, and actor, considered one of the most important filmmakers of his era. Lynch was often called a visionary and was acclaimed for films often distinguished by their surrealist qualities. I'll have to do a little bit more and see where we come up with that. He did Twin Peaks. He was part of Dune, Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive. Okay, yeah, I see those. He was from Missoula, Montana, ladies and gentlemen, born in 1946, died in 2025. Very good. All right. Thank you for that heads up, all of you out there. See, that's why we pay attention to the comments, to see who's out there paying attention to us and how can we add more to the show. All right. Now, we've just done Joke of the Week, and now I'm curious, 106 pirates. There's a strange number. Hopefully we'll get an ending to that one. And Quote of the Week. Now, before I put this one up, or I have Davey put it up, Davey was worried it was going to offend a few people. And I told Davey, I've used this quote before. If it offends somebody, so be it. Go for it, Davey.
Who sponsors it?
Oh, that's true. We don't have a video for this one yet. That would be Spyglass Travel, ladies and gentlemen. If you want a good walking tour of the city of St. Augustine, the oldest city in the nation, contact my friends at Spyglass Travel. They'd be happy to walk you around. Not only do you get a good bunch of history, but guess what? You get a good cardio workout too, because it's at least an hour's worth of walking. That's good for anybody. And Quote of the Week is now with us. Winston Churchill said, tact is the ability to tell someone to go to hell in such a way that they look forward to the trip. Yes, I have used that before. The ability to tell somebody to go to hell and they enjoy the trip on the way. Very good, Davey. I like that one. And in fact, really, probably apropos, because there's a lot of people that are unhappy with today. But life goes on. And of course, Question of the Week. And because this is an inaugural day, I have a question that I think fits, and it's sponsored by Ancient City Sirens, our favorite ladies of Ancient City Sirens, Miss Gina and her girls, that can dance in any style or venue or genre you can think of. If you can think of it, they can do it. Ladies and gentlemen, Ancient City Sirens, I've been working with Miss Gina for 18 years now, and it's always a joy to work with her, and we'll see how things go, but I've got other events on the horizon that she's going to join us for. But enough of that. Who was the first president you ever voted for? Ladies and gentlemen, I voted in the 1976 presidential election. That was Carter versus Ford. And I voted for Ford. It was a losing bet there. My first time out, and I lost. But I still voted for Ford. On the other side of that coin, though, ladies and gentlemen, as we said yesterday when we last week, when we honored Jimmy Carter, he may not have been a favored president by many, but as a statesman, he sure was a prime example of what our presidents should be when they leave office. A statesman, a representative of the United States of America. But it doesn't always happen that way. So, who was the first president you ever voted for? Pop it in there. I'm interested to see who it was or who you voted for in your first time exercising your rights. Will the historian Bush versus Kerry? Do I have to ask who you voted for? All right. We always jump into This Week in Nautical History. So, Davey, if you want to go ahead and plug that in. We do not have a sponsor now for This Week in Nautical History as of now. We are looking for some new sponsors. So this slot is open if you'd like to be a part of it. And when you see what we did for Dick's Wings in a little while, you might want to jump in and be a sponsor, because this is the kind of thing we're trying to do for our sponsors now. And we're creating miniature commercials. For now, though, no sponsor for this, but This Week in Nautical History, let's just say it's brought to you by Captain's Quarters Podcast. Go ahead, Davey.
Welcome to This Week in Nautical History, sponsored by our friends at Florida Water Tours. Experience the Intercoastal Waterway at its finest, featuring picture-perfect attractions. We begin This Week in Nautical History In the year 1777, Captain James Cook stops in Van Diemen's Land, now Tasmania, with Resolution for supplies on his third trip to the Pacific Ocean. 1795, War of the First Coalition, French cavalry captures 14 Dutch ships and 850 guns near the port of Den Helder, rare instance of cavalry capturing a fleet. 1880, HMS Investigator, headed by Robert McClure, leaves England, first expedition to make a Northwest Passage, though some over ice. 1856, American southerner steamer SS Pacific leaves Liverpool, England, on what becomes her final voyage, lost at sea en route to New York with 186 on board. 1870, City of Boston vanishes at sea, with all 177 aboard. 1906, SS Valencia runs aground on rocks on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, killing more than 130. 1909, first radio rescue at sea during CQD distress code by the British Royal Mail steamship Republic off Nantucket Island. 1921, British submarine HMS K5, which was usually equipped with steam turbines, sinks with 57 crew during exercises in the Bay of Biscay. 1954, USS Nautilus, the first nuclear-powered submarine, launched on the Thames River in Connecticut. And finally, in 1968, spy ship USS Pueblo and 83 men crew seized in Sea of Japan by North Korea. And that was this week in nautical history.
There you go, Davey. Very good. Lots of good information there. And as always, I love all the good history that you keep putting in these things. It's always wonderful. So let's see here. I am looking, because I believe this is one of those times, community calendar of events. Ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of a slow season. There's two things that we want to talk about. The first one, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, is an event that just happened this past weekend down in Daytona. It is the Caribbean Jacks Pirate Festival. I know that the ladies of the Sirens were there. I was supposed to be there to do magic shows, but unfortunately, I had an issue. We'll talk about that later. For now, though, I understand it was a good event, and we got some pictures. About a dozen of the Pirates of the Swashbucklers went down there to support Ruben in this event, and I hope that we get another one soon down the road. What do you got to show us, Davey?
Let's see. I got Ruben.
There's Ruben playing. Very good.
Some of our crew.
Some of the crew there. I see Melanie and Trisha and Annette and John Boyd. I can't see the others in the background. That's okay. There's Miss Gina and the girls there dancing. There's Judy on the left-hand side and a couple of the other girls there. Very good. And they had a Jack Sparrow there. If I remember right, that's one of the Jack Sparrows I think does a really wonderful job, and I love meeting up with him once in a while. He was good, wasn't he? Oh, you weren't there, Davey. Never mind. So who's standing in there? Oh, I see it's the Purple Pirate. Is that Steve Birchfield in the background? I think it is.
No.
No?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Very good. And the girls of the mermaid too. They had a pretty mermaid there too. Very nice. Very good, Davey. And that all the money they raised was to go to, I believe, animal shelters or something along the way. So I have something I want to share with everybody because, as many of you know, and this little tidbit can be cut and used down the road. I can use this on Facebook as a clip, but I'd like to share some information with everybody. on why Old City Pirate Festival has been postponed. So, if you will, indulge me. When you have to consider closing down an event, it is by no means a simple decision. I have had to postpone the Old City Pirate Fest. This would have been the 10th year. So first ask yourself, how easy do you think it was for me to do this? How hurtful do you think it was for me to do this? And how much more hurtful do you think the ugly comments, threats, and posts of vultures swooping in to take advantage of a tough decision are towards me? So let me lay it out for you first and foremost. I thank my crew, now 50 strong, for standing with me and helping me be a part of the decision to postpone. So I would not have to do this standing alone. But let me list out a few of the things, reasons, and valid points that I have to use when I do this. Let's first take finances. When the cost of things goes up, but sponsorship doesn't, that is a potential issue, and insurance is one of those. In the state of Florida, for anything having to do with insurance, it has gone up. This includes coverage of liabilities for events. I know our event isn't the only one suffering from this also, but our coverage at the last minute tripled. That was money I didn't have in the budget and money I didn't know if I could come up with. And you'll hear what I mean in a minute. About time. We have done this event for 9 years. In the beginning of the planning of this event, 9 years ago, so soon after the holidays, was not an issue, but it has now become an issue. People need a breather after such a humongous Night of Lights event in St. Augustine. And I mean humongous, and they've stretched it out to 2 months. Attitudes and mental preparedness need to be smoothed out a little bit. And some businesses just want to coast into a new year with little worries and no conflict. So getting a chance to talk to them was almost a shutout. It made it difficult. Success. If cost of things goes up, especially at last minute, those costs can't be absorbed into acquiring more sponsorships. It becomes difficult. Then those costs will eat at your profits if you can't cover them with sponsors. Your profit margin will become smaller. Now, some may speak ugly that I mentioned profits, but those are not profits for me. I can't believe I have to say this, and I have had to say it many times. I make no profit from any of the charitable events that St. Augustine Swashbucklers do. I am a volunteer like the rest of my crew. That is important for people to understand. Everything, and I mean everything, is towards a profit that goes to our charities. So if the rising cost of an event takes from our profit to give to the charity because the sponsorship didn't cover it, then there is nothing to go to the charity at all. I have seen some events spend thousands and thousands on their event to only give hundreds to the charity they either advertise or brag about and claim it was a good event and everyone had a good time. I don't do events for everybody to have a good time. That is important. But if I'm going to brag that I'm doing an event for the charity, I really feel that if we don't give the charity a good chunk or a nice check, then we have not done our job properly with respect. One of the reasons I don't support some of the more national or international charities is because they advertise. 80% goes to building their company, their organization, their board members, their chief executive officers, and less than 20% goes to the charity. I find that appalling, and I've seen that happen here in St. Augustine. I don't build an event just to have fun. The success is the event gives to the charities. It's one of the reasons why the St. Augustine Swashbucklers has given over $5,000 this year to 2 charities. plus another 1,500 to 2,000 to smaller charities over the year. It's important to run an event and be successful, but success is not measured in everybody having a good time. Success is measured in how well you do for the purpose that you created the event. If you're going to brag about doing charity for any charitable organization and it costs you $15,000 to run the event and you give $500 to the charity, you're running things a little in the wrong direction. So these are the things that I have to decide. It's also very hard this year, and I expect it to continue to be hard, because 3 of the members of the Swashbucklers are also tour guides at the Pirate Museum. And for some reason, January has turned into a bigger month than April and May normally is. Everybody's moving to January, which put us all in a work mode for the month of January, when normally we have all that time off. And I happen to know that a couple of the tour guides also are participating in a very large reenactment down south called Alify. So it makes a difference if you don't have everybody to work together. It makes a difference if you're spending more than you're putting out. And those things have to be decided. It's like deciding on the weather. It's like deciding on your finances. As the words were spoken in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, it's nothing personal, Jack. It's just good business. And even though we want to have a good time as pirates and we want to do fun events, if we're not doing well for the charities, then it's not good business. And I leave you to think about that. Thank you for allowing me this time. We do not know what we're going to do with Old City Pirate Festival. We do know that we will be postponing the event. We are looking at postponing and moving the event to an April-May timeframe. But I also am very adamant about this. I have my crew looking at every calendar we can find to show all the different events that happen in April and May that may affect us or may show our disrespect to somebody else's event. We want to make sure that we don't override somebody else's event. Now, proximity means a lot too. I mean, if there's an event in California, that's not going to have much of a bearing on me. We did our event these last 9 years on the same time frame as Gasparilla. But see, here's the other thing that people don't understand. I don't really build these events as a private pirate party. I build these events as a community event for the community. We appreciate the support of pirates from other crews. We appreciate their involvement. We appreciate their attendance. But we are building these events, Spooktacular and Old City Pirate Fest, we build for the community, for the children at the schools who we give our charity money to. So anybody that has an issue with me having postponed the event, I am very sorry. But the decisions were made with respect to, are we doing well for the charity and are we doing well for ourselves? Aye. Davey, I don't think we have anything else, and we have no guest tonight. So I think we should just jump right into this week in history. What do you think? Did I miss something?
Were you going to talk about the walkabout?
Oh, duh. I didn't put it in my notes. You're absolutely right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Davey, completely. So on the 1st of February, where we were going to do Old City Pirate Festival, we've decided to do a goodwill tour of St. George Street with the St. Augustine Swashbucklers. This is a goodwill tour. It's not us going down for a pub crawl, because we're going to visit a restaurant or two. We're going to visit a few of the stores. Anybody that we have on our list that has supported us over the years, we're going downtown to say thank you, show up, let them take some pictures of the swashbucklers and other pirates at their stores. They can use however they want. In other words, show gratitude for what they've done. The crew of the St. Augustine Swashbucklers made a decision to still use the date on the calendar as a way to show support to spots along St. George Street that have been supporters of our events in the past and currently, as well as form new alliances along the way, because there are new stores downtown. We wish, and one of those new stores is a really fantastic beef jerky and peanut butter store. There's a combination, but we will be visiting with them. I've already met the owners. We wish to show these establishments that we appreciate their support in all of the events that we do and they share with us. We have set a location for the start and the kickoff drink, and we will post that in a couple of days, and then we will stop along the way. We will be doing some lunch and whatever other stops we can think of. Everyone is welcome. We as a crew will walk the walk when it comes to keeping local money local. We'll spend some money in local establishments and show our appreciation. The event page has been created and I've already begun inviting people to it, but if I miss you and you want to be a part of this event, please send us a message and we will make sure you're added to the event. It starts at 1 in the afternoon, although the time says till 5 p.m. I'm all for going as long as we want, although some of us are getting old. So join us if you will. We'd love to have you be a part of what we're doing. A goodwill tour of St. George Street, St. Augustine, Florida, by the St. Augustine Swashbucklers. Thank you, Davey. Can you hear my great-granddaughter in the background?
Barely.
Barely, okay. I can't be upset with her. She's a baby. We can't just tell her to stop crying. And on that note, let's do This Week in History, Davey.
Or did you want to see why we celebrate Emil?
Oh, yeah, we could do that now. Do Martin Luther King first and then This Week in History.
Okay.
Observed as the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. and is an official U.S. holiday. Dr. King's actual birthday is January 15th. Dr. King was a church and community leader who spoke out against racial discrimination, the unfair treatment of people based on the color of their skin or where they came from. His voice became familiar to millions of people during the Civil Rights Movement, a time when many people were working hard to change unfair laws. These laws prevented many African Americans from using public areas, going to certain schools, or even entering some stores and restaurants. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. believed people should stand up for what is right and stop injustice any way they can, but never through the use of violence. As recognition for his ideas and dedication, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. The Civil Rights Movement led to historic changes in our country's laws. In 1994, the U.S. government encouraged Americans to use the King holiday as a national day of volunteer action. Now, on the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, volunteers across the country donate their time to making a difference. How would you like to volunteer your time on the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
I think the most well-known quote from King's speech is that we should only be treating people by their integrity and their inner self and not by the color of their skin. So I hope that we can continue on. And today is a good day to start anew and move forward. Let's see.
Now This Week in History.
Now This Week in History.
Where does the captain take his hungry crew for a good lunch special? Why, Dick's Wings. Daily lunch specials even a pirate could afford. Why, look, a table filled with flavors and tastes for even the most discriminating of pirates. A great lunch and a great time is always had by all at Dick's Wings, St. Augustine, Florida, US 1 South.
We begin this week in history in the year 1801. John Marshall appointed U.S. Chief Justice. 1848. James Marshall finds gold in Sutter's Mill in Coloma, California. 1849, Elizabeth Blackwell becomes first woman in the U.S. to earn a medical degree graduating from New York's Geneva Medical College. 1903, Harry Houdini escapes from Helvenmusteg police station in Amsterdam. 1918, U.S. Food Administrator Herbert Hoover calls for wheatless and meatless days to help war effort. 1935, first canned beer, Kruger's Cream Ale, is sold by American company Kruger Brewing Company. 1945, Franklin D. Roosevelt sworn in for an unprecedented and never to be repeated fourth term as U.S. President. 1949, J. Edgar Hoover gives Shirley Temple a tear gas fountain pen. 1968, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In premieres on NBC. 1973, Richard Nixon's second inauguration as President of the United States takes place in Washington, D.C. Flags are flown at half-staff in mourning for former President Harry Truman. 1975, Barney Miller premieres on ABC TV. And finally, in 1984, Apple Computer Inc. unveils its revolutionary Macintosh personal computer in a Super Bowl TV ad directed by Ridley Scott. And that was This Week in History.
Very good, Davey. So we don't have much left on our agenda today. And at this point, this is normally where I do a shot across the bow. And that is the new title for any of my ideas, thoughts, reflections, musings, personal opinions that I like to share. Mostly all of it done with what I hope will always be taken in some way, shape, or form as a humorous twist. I believe humor is like the last bastion of defense we have towards anything that is negative in our lives. So, and if you have something, by all means, you want me to write about it, please send me your information, what your idea is. 15 years ago or so, I was part of a radio program here in St. Augustine. And I did a segment in there where I wrote something on a weekly basis, but it was always about current events. So most of what I wrote, I can't use anymore because I kept it at current events. I mean, from things as silly as President Obama winning the Nobel Peace Prize to those people that don't understand that the Middle East people don't necessarily need to control our oil. We have it, and we get a lot of our oil in this country from non-Middle Eastern countries. But that's all old news. So we're going to try to do a shot across the bow in which I hopefully will have a really good sponsor. We're looking at one right now. But I referenced earlier in the show, we would talk about what my health issues, at least, prior to everybody else's. Mandy had to have some surgery, and she's still resting up. This was last week, and we always wish her well. So here's what happened to me. On Saturday morning at almost 4 o'clock in the morning, I was woke up out of my sleep by chest pains extraordinaire and a few of the other symptoms of a heart attack. And my wife, I woke her up. She got me down to the hospital. We only live about 6 miles from the hospital. She got me down to the hospital, and we were in the waiting room by 4:40. They kept me until Sunday night. They kept me till Sunday night running tests and checking on everything. And in the long run, I have to admit, this is a wake-up call for my behavior. Many of you know that the holiday season, the Night of Lights, I work a lot. From from November 23rd to January 10th is 50 days. In that 50 days, I worked 47 with 3 days off. 2 of those days off were Christmas Day and New Year's Day. My sleep was deprived. My eating habits were terrible, getting home late at night and eating and going to bed. I was terribly irresponsible for taking my blood pressure and cholesterol and other meds that I'm supposed to take. And the result, I had a wake-up call. Through all the tests, though, the heart doctors that ran the different tests, 3 different tests, show that my arteries are good. The blood flow through my heart is good. But we did figure out one other thing. I find this humorous, but while I was in the hospital overnight, they had me hooked up to all these monitors, and I guess one of the monitors tells your oxygen rate. Well, they woke me up 3 different times in the night to tell me that I wasn't sleeping very good because my oxygen rate went down to low levels. Yes, I did say that. They woke me up 3 different times to tell me I wasn't sleeping well. I was groggy when they woke me up on one of those times, because when they woke me up, they also had to take more blood because they were taking blood to check enzymes and other things on a regular basis. I don't remember them sticking my hand for that one. The pain wasn't even there. Here's the bottom line. We all must take care of our health. I was stressed beyond compare the last couple of weeks. I haven't done a job of my eating habits, my sleeping habits, my med habits. I've done a terrible, terrible job over the last 2 months. I have to get back on it. I'm very lucky. As somebody said, and I saw them on Friday, and we had a nice hug and hadn't seen each other for many, many, many moons. A lot can happen in the blink of an eye. And so I'm paying attention. I'm changing my eating habits. I'm trying to change my sleep habits. And I'm going to try to remove myself from stressful issues. It's not going to be easy, but I ask each and every one of you to look at your health situation and remind yourself that you need to take care of things. Yes, Jim, sleep apnea. That's exactly what it is. It's not a joke. In fact, the heart doctor said the sleep apnea, when you lose your oxygen during your sleep, your heart goes into overtime, and that's what caused my problem most likely, because he couldn't find anything else that would have been the problem. I had all the signs of a heart attack, but I was lucky. And so now I'll be going through some sleep tests to see what I need to do about this. And we'll go from there. It is important for us to take care of ourselves. It's absolutely important for us to take care of ourselves because of the friends and family that we may be responsible for or responsible with. Pardon me. There are many issues that I have been involved in that I'm removing myself from because of the stress. And some of it has come about recently. And some of it has come about, as you notice, I still have an event to go on, but we're doing a nice, easy tour of St. George Street. I can't think of any other way to say this other than I'm glad it was just a wake-up call. And I hope that all of the rest of you don't have to have a wake-up call, but maybe you'll use my example as a good example to take care of yourselves. And, well, I'll rest at another time, but better sleep, better food habits. And the other thing, too, I need to lose about 25 pounds. I'm getting to the point that if I'm on ship and I walk to one side or the other, the ship's going to list. Hi, Zachary Harker. My heart just stops when I'm sleeping. It brings a new meaning to the sleeping like the dead. Hi. More importantly, though, Zachary, is let's wake up like the living. So I thank everybody for the concerns and messages I've gotten over the weekend. Hundreds. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of messages, Facebook, text messages, phone calls, not just to me, but quite a few to my wife. I'm flattered by the concern. I'm touched by the people that have made messages. And I don't have any plans on checking out soon. I still have a few things to do, and revenge is best done by showing the success despite the slings and arrows thrown at you. So we'll continue on. The swashbucklers are important to me. This show is very important to me. And just as a side note, Davey and I have been offered a chance to do another podcast on a once a month kind of a basis for now, maybe twice a month. And we had a meeting last week, and I believe we're going to do it. It has nothing to do with this podcast other than the fact that we get to attach our name to the new one that we are creating for somebody else. So we're picking different ways. Davey and I sat and had a conversation last week. We're working on a book, an activity book for children. That gives me great relaxation to work on those things. And Davey has some great ideas. So we're working in other directions. And all the negativity, we're going to just brush it off. I've learned my lesson. It's time to move on. And I hope that you will learn from mine so you don't have to go through it yourself. Thank you very much for allowing me this piece to speak. On that note, Davey has told me he's done some extra work to change some of the things that we've been talking about changing. At this point, we normally talk about guests on deck, but we have none right now because of the way things have gone. I haven't had a chance to really follow up. So if you want to be a guest on the show or you have some ideas on the show, let me know some dates. I know that we talked to Zachary Harker, and I believe we're working on some things there for the Pirate Lords of the Great Lakes, Captain Smoo in Quebec. Love to have you on the show. We can do it live and streaming, or you can fly down here and spend some time in good old St. Augustine, but we'd love to have you. I know that we're going to put my brother over in Panama City on the show. I know that we're going to put my son on the show. He's a wonderful historian, and I love having some of the disagreements that we have in public and talking about it. So, but if you have an idea for a show, send it to us. I see that Captain's Quarters podcast put that they went and voted for Reagan and Mondale in '84. Very good. My son says he'll send me some of the things and the recipes that he ate, and he lost 35 pounds. If I lost 35 pounds, I'd be very happy. Tell me how long it took you to do that. Captain Smoo says anytime. We're always looking for ways to make the show more interesting. We've been doing this show for now 3 years. Whatever we can do to make the show interesting. We've put a few things in. We've taken a few things out. I think the things that we have kept make the show what the show is. This Week in Nautical History, This Week in History, great guests. And Captain Smoo says he will be there around March 10th, and he will be confirming that. And I'm looking at a schedule right now, a calendar, to show me what March looks like. March 10th. That might be a good date. Celtic Festival is that weekend before, 7th, 8th, and 9th. That might be a good date. Let me know. Jim says that he doesn't feel bad about the diet. I'm doing gastric bypass March 3rd. I'm done being fat. I have to agree with you. I am done being pudgy. I used to think that I looked pretty good, but I've seen a few pictures of me, and I don't look so good. Also, my wife posted a picture of me leaving the hospital last night, and I told her she's never to take a picture of me from behind ever again. I didn't realize I was almost that bald in the back of my head. So I guess getting older is just something for us to laugh at. I will say this, Jim, and to my brother, and to even Captain Smoo. Getting older is not for the faint of heart. That I know. So let's see what we can do, Captain Smoo. I'd love to have you on the show. Let me know what your schedule of travel is down here. If you come in for the weekend, you can come to the Celtic Festival and hang out. And, or if you're here long enough, maybe we can get a couple of the other pirates to come up here and hang out also. So let's see what we can do. So Davey, we only have a few more things to do. And I'm thinking that you want to start with Joke of the Week. I'm curious about 106 Pirates.
Okay, it's time for the answer to the joke of the week. How do you get 106 pirates off the ship? The answer is one at a time. Mandy Joe is laughing.
She's not even here.
One at a time. Duh.
And he said Mandy Joe is laughing. I know she is somewhere.
Yeah, probably. Very good. So we normally do thank yous and appreciations in this last segment. Davey, you said you made some changes to some of them.
Well, Mandy's not with us and for our numbers and that stuff, but I do have a thank you video.
All right, let's see the thank you video.
The Captain Quarters Podcast is always searching the world for history, knowledge, and adventure. It takes a crew to run a podcast, so we take this opportunity to thank those who help keep this podcast going. The crew: Captain William Mayhem, Navigator Davey Longwood, Cartographer Mandy Joe. Our charities we support: Alias Acres, Humane Society, Inc. The three major charities we support, but always room for more. You too could be part of the show and support the show in many ways. Go to Patreon. For a small monthly contribution, become a Powder Monkey or First Mate sponsor. Go to YouTube and hit the like and subscribe buttons to join our ranks and support the show. It does take a crew. Thank you.
Good, Davey. I like it. Very good. I like the changes that you made, and I think it looked really good.
Platforms.
Yes, platforms. I was just looking at the notes here. Here are our platforms, ladies and gentlemen. You can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, and Spotify. But if you just want to listen to us, because you don't want to see my ugly mug, I'm okay with that. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher, Twitter, Music, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. We do well on all those platforms, ladies and gentlemen, but we could do better. The numbers will help us. Low carb diet. I'm not sure I like low carb diets, but we'll see. You are right, mate. Get old is for the strong ones. Yep, hopefully. If I would have known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. Believe it or not, I believe that's a quote by somebody like George Burns, but who knows? I know. So there you have it. Do we have our numbers, Davey, or? Very good.
Mandy wasn't here. I had to do something.
What's that?
Mandy wasn't with us, so I needed to do something.
Well, that's fine, and it looks good. I like it. We need to change up the visuals here and there, and it looks good. So, if we keep everything the same, then we lose the interest of everybody, and we got to make some changes once in a while. So I'm good with it. You did a great job. I don't think we have much else. We would like to have some emails. We would like to have your input, and there's our email at the bottom. And we are working on a couple of things. We did a video at our Christmas crew Christmas social, and the video came out really well. As you can see, the Dick Swings video came out pretty good. We're very happy with that. We're working on a commercial for Spyglass Travel, and I think we're going to do one for Ancient City Sirens too. So we're working on a few. We might try to talk to Salt City Comics and see what we could come up with, but I think what we come up with will be different from everybody else. Davey and I are still having a great time doing this show. We're working on a new all-encompassing website to cover the podcast and Mayhem and the crew and our events. And we'll have all that as quick as possible. And now we're also researching a website that would help us with merchandise. I do know that there is at least 2 people in our audience that paid for something a year ago and never got it. They will be the first ones to receive stuff out of our new merch at no cost to them, with my apologies for letting things go by the wayside when I caught my notes last week. So we will keep on moving. We thank you very much. Davey, I see these things at the bottom of the screen. Do I have the ability to do that?
Yes.
Or that?
That
Or
doesn't do
that?
anything.
Look at that. Davey does most of the work, but once in a while I see things that I can put my fingers in. Well, as always, our show is just under 1 hour long because it's just me, but we are glad to have everybody here. We thank you very much. And if you have any ideas, send us messages. But upon that note, how do we say goodbye, Davey?
Part of the podcast.
Part of the crew, always. We can't do it without you. Well, we could, but it's just not as much fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, join us every Monday night at 8 o'clock for Captain's Quarters podcast. We look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.
With wit and charm, they make it clear. History's lessons are ever dear. Each episode